This weekend is EVO, the biggest fighting game tournament in the world. An event that I look forward to every single year as champions return and legends are born. Only the best of the best in the fighting game community can stand on the final stage and compete in the biggest games of the year. Street Fighter V, Tekken 7, Smash Bros. Ultimate, Under Night in Birth, Samurai Shodown. Wait, hold on a second. What was that last one? Under Night in Birth, EXE late parentheses ST in parentheses? That is not a real game. You all made that up. Oh, that is a real game? Oh. Well then. I guess it's a good thing I have a show on this channel dedicated to checking out games I've never played before. Yes, welcome to another episode of Thorgi Finally Plays, and all joking aside, even though this game is fairly unknown to Western audiences, I actually have kind of an odd history with it. I was first exposed to Under Night in Birth about 5 years ago in a bar of all places. They were having a video game night where people could bring in whatever games or consoles they want and they would hook it up to one of the screens. And on a screen above the bar, I saw this insane fighting game I had never seen before. All in Japanese, with great pixel art that reminded me of Guilty Gear or BlazBlue, with characters like Omega Red Venom, Big Fist Bearman, and Gambit with a scythe. Did I mention this was in Japanese so I couldn't figure out what their actual names were? But I couldn't find who was playing it. No one there knew what it was, and it was all in Japanese, so I couldn't even look anything up online to try and figure out what the hell I was watching. So I spent years thinking about that game, wondering what it was. Would I ever see it again? Was it all just some dream and it never even existed in the first place? If I went back to that bar the next day, would it just be an empty lot and there'd be some old man standing out front saying, "That bar burned down 10 years ago. It was driving me insane." But then, almost 2 years ago, BlazBlue Cross Tag Battle was announced. A crossover fighting game between several franchises, including Under Night in Birth. And after 3 years of wondering, I finally had my answer. I cannot tell you how big the sigh of relief was that I let out when I was watching that trailer and I saw Gordeau and Waldstein pop up and I just yelled out, "That's it! That's the game I've been thinking of this entire time." So with Under Night in Birth, or Eunice as the fans call it, having its moment in the spotlight on the world stage this weekend, it's the perfect excuse for me to finally check it out. Now, I did a little bit of research on it, as I'm sure many other people did when a 7-year-old game was announced for EVO, and I discovered that this game has a big cult following. But not because of any of the characters or the story or the creators. No, it has a solid following entirely because of the mechanics. This game is talked about in the fighting game community in the same way that a big food connoisseur will just rave about some hole-in-the-wall diner that you've never heard about. Yeah, I know it doesn't look like much, but if you order this secret item that's off the menu, it'll be the best thing you've ever eaten. So I started this game by checking out the tutorial to find out what makes it so special, and oh my god, that's a lot of numbers. Yeah, we're not going to get through all that, so let's just check out the basics. Essentially, what makes this game different is that everything links into everything else. You've got 3 basic attacks, light, medium, and hard, or to simplify it, A, B, C. And A can link into B, and that can link into C. Or C can link into B, and that can link into A. Or C can link into A, and that can link into B, and so on. And you can switch that up between highs and lows easily. There is like no frames between a high and low attack, making for great mix-ups, and almost every special or super can be tagged onto the back end of a combo or combined with air juggles and wall bounces to keep them going. Oh yeah, there are wall bounces in here, and they are more effective than in almost any 2D fighter I've ever seen. At least they are if you're better at the game than I am. Yeah, I'll go ahead and admit I'm not the best fighting game player. Don't get me wrong, I love the genre, but I'll gladly admit my skill level always hovers just above casual. But even though I'm not great at fighting games, this game makes you feel like you are. Because everything links into everything else and flows insanely smoothly, Under Night actually feels better to play than almost any other fighting game I've ever picked up. The fact that even as someone new to this franchise, I can hit a double-digit combo just by mixing up A, B, C's, highs and lows and specials, it is so incredibly rewarding. But on the other end of that, It makes this game more challenging because you have to pay attention to everything your opponent does, because they can go from an overhead to a low attack in the blink of an eye. And speaking of opponents better at this game than I am, I found that not only are there still a decent chunk of people still playing this online, but they've been practicing. And as cool as I felt doing a long string of hits, I saw people throwing out combos I couldn't even imagine, and I didn't even feel bad about it. I was just impressed because it looked so damn cool. And just to address a concern that some people might have, yes, every character can have an ABC combo, but that doesn't mean they all control the same. The timing on their moves, the range, how you link their specials to their combos, it's different for every character, creating a ton of variety. I totally get why the fighting game community loves this so much. It's fast, everyone feels different, pulling off a combo feels great and intense, and it will push your reaction time to the limits. I was hitting buttons so quick, my fingers were cramping up. I mean, I assume that's because everything was so fast, I don't know. Maybe I'm just getting old. Am I so out of shape? No, it's the video games that are wrong. 2 Simpson references in one show. It's a new record, everybody! And I haven't even mentioned one of the most unique things about this game. In addition to the health bar and super mirror, there's a third gauge in the center of the screen that both players share. For lack of better terms, this is an aggression meter. You fill it up by running at your opponent, attacking, blocking, basically by getting into the heat of combat. If you run away, if you try and avoid combat, if you get hit, then you lose meter. But there's a timer that's slowly filling up. When it's full, whoever has more meter will get a 10% temporary power up, but you can also sacrifice this ability to give yourself an instant super mirror boost and reset your combo. So you can start a combo, get halfway through it, reset it, start the combo all over again while your opponent is stun locked, and you'll get free meter for nothing. Yeah, this is madness, but in the best way. It's another way that this game rewards you for going all in. Listen, I could keep going on about how many mechanics this game has and how unique it is, but you saw that tutorial screen. It's a lot. Important thing is, it all feels amazing. Even when I'm getting my butt kicked online, I'm having a good time because this game just feels so darn fun. And a lot of that isn't even thanks to the mechanics. It's also the presentation. Yes, this game looks dated, I mean it is 7 years old after all, but the characters all have their own distinct designs that make them instantly recognizable. There are tons of stages, 18 in total, each capturing that feeling of being in an abandoned town at night for this urban J-horror vibe that this game is going for. And the music is spectacular. Each character has their own track that sounds varied, but still has this shared electric vibe that makes it so that no matter how different everyone in this game is, you can still buy them all fade into the same world. And these beats are as fast and impactful as the combat itself, matching up perfectly with whatever is going on the screen. It's just that little extra touch to make playing this game a sheer joy. And we needed that too, because you know what isn't a joy? Story mode. Oh dear God. Okay, before we tackle this, let me just say, I'm one of those people out there who actually enjoys fighting games for story modes, for the crazy cast of characters, and for their soap opera level backstories, and this game sure does have a story behind it. It sure does have its own lore. In fact, it's got like 9 different lores all thrown together with no rhyme or reason. And they won't tell you what's going on. No. That'd be too convenient. You'll have to unlock the story, but not in any kind of chronological order. Yeah, when you start playing the arcade mode, you'll see what each character is up to in the story, but you have no idea who they are, why they're here, where the hell here is, or what they're fighting about. I kept having to ask myself, is this a sequel to something that I don't know about? Is this one of those fighting games where everyone comes from a light novel or something? Nope! This is indeed the first appearance of all these characters and this world. And yet, you could never play a Mortal Kombat game in your entire life and jump right into Mortal Kombat 11, and you would understand that game better than you could possibly understand the first and only Under Night game. But don't worry, because if you're confused, then you can play through the Chronicles mode, which is the prequel that explains who these characters are and why they're fighting. except that there are two problems with that. It's divided into over 20 chapters, and you have to unlock these chapters by going through other chapters. Oh, so you play chapter 1 and then that unlocks chapter 2? No! Where would you get a crazy idea like that? You play chapter 0 and that unlocks chapters 10 and 7. Play through chapter 7 and that unlocks chapters 8, 9, 1, and 12. Keep doing that for long enough and eventually you will figure out the story. If you can understand what the hell anyone is talking about, because I do not exaggerate when I say this. This is hands down the worst written story mode or story adjacent mode I've ever played in a fighting game. I've complained about story modes in fighting games before, but this is a new low. Every single chapter, which have multiple sub-chapters within them, can take you over an hour to get through. Is it because there's just that much story? No! Because everything in this game is stretched out to the point that it's about to snap like a rubber band. I kid you not when I say you could cut almost 80% of the dialogue out of this and it wouldn't affect a single thing. You will have characters saying something, then saying literally the exact same thing in the next line of dialogue. In one chapter, there were characters on a train making their way into the city, talking about, I met up with my friend on the plane. I thought about meeting them at the airport as I looked at the city outside the train. I looked through my bag for my phone. I did not find my phone. The city pulled farther away from us as the train rode by. I was supposed to meet my other friend at our destination. Maybe they're already there and they're trying to call me on my phone. Last time I saw them, they were at the airport. But then they went into the city. I wonder where they are. I wonder if they arrived. I found my phone. No messages. Yes, I will admit I am exaggerating, but not nearly as much as you think I am. You get writing like that, loaded with spelling and grammatical errors by the way, for over an hour for every single chapter. And I remind you, this story is told out of order. So in addition to the other problems, you're going to have to sit there through a chapter, which will take you about an hour and a half to get through, while they're throwing out terminology and characters and story beats that you won't understand until after you unlock 5 other chapters. It is mind-boggling how they presented this story, but after sitting through as much of it as I possibly could withstand, it still doesn't make any sense to me. Near as I can tell, the plot is that there's something called the Night, a weird pocket dimension that opens up and only some people can enter, and inside the night there are these things called voids, and if a void bites or attacks you and you survive, you gain EXE energy, and that gives you a random power, making you what is known as an in-birth. But if an in-birth dies in the night, they become a void themselves. Some evil organization is trying to do something at the center of the night to gain ultimate power, and now all the in-births are making their way there to stop them. Okay, that's kinda nuts, but it's not that weird. It's still understandable. But then you throw in some holy organization that's trying to hunt down all the in-births, and robots, and immortals, and there's something called Pandora, which is who the hell knows, and then there's some mystery god off camera at the end, and we don't even know what he's up to, and there's a legendary sword, and invisible languages, and then there's something called rebirths, which what the hell is that supposed to be? But if you find any of that confusing, don't worry, because before every single match, they're going to remind you of the backstory of every single one of these characters with a long paragraph that pops up and gives you all the information that you, and it's gone. Hope you read all that in the quarter second it gave you. I'm just gonna stop the video right here just so I can say to all the Kingdom Hearts fans out there, I'd like to formally apologize for all the times that I critiqued your story, because even though it can be a jumbled mess at times, at least your shenanigans all happened within your games, and in some kind of an order that made sense. This game feels more like you took a character designer and said, hey, you have to come up with a story for how all your OCs exist in the same world. But okay, train wreck of a story mode aside, Under Night still turned out to be worth the several years that I spent obsessing over it. This game has a combat system that is easy to learn and yet varied and complex enough to make it impossible to master. It's got combos that feel rewarding, big spectacular looking supers, characters with distinct designs that stand out and feel iconic, and an amazing soundtrack that got my heart pumping in every match. I love playing this game, and while every character shares similarities, they each feel so different that everyone out there can find one character that speaks to them. For me, my favorites came down to Wagner, the flame tyrant who cut through her enemies with her fiery sword. Merkaba, the void that seeks only to devour everything in the world. Byakuya, a mysterious boy who enjoys dissecting his opponents with maniacal, maddening glee. And my personal favorite, my #1 main, Mika, a tiny girl with giant rocket-powered gloves. Yeah, I don't really have a way to hype her up like I do the others, but she has a half-screen command grab that you can combo into, so I don't care. She's awesome. Thanks for tuning in for another episode of Thorgi Finally Plays. Any big games I might have missed out on that you think I should tackle? Let me know in the comments down below or on Twitter at Thorgi's Arcade or Twitch at Professor Thorgi. And if you like this video and you want to help us out, the best way that you can do that is simply by sharing these videos around the web. It is the best way to help our channel grow. But you can also hit that thumb up, click that subscribe button, and ring that bell. Those also help a ton. Thanks for tuning in, everyone. Come back next time.